Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. As anybody knows, it's come to one of these things that everything's informal. We don't have a set way to go agenda or anything like that. It's basically giving people information. They can ask questions that will try to come up with the answers as quick as we can. I've got two announcements to make, and one is that anybody that's seen the Gate City presentation, Gate Century, I'm not for that, so I just threw it out there to see what y'all's reaction was, and plus I saw that I got feedback from other residents of like what they like to see. As you know, I've talked to Mark about the Gate Century thing. I've talked to him like 3 times in the last week and a half, 2 weeks about it, and he agrees that we think that the computers use Windows 7 and they're not supportive, they're not licensed, the license will run out on it and all that. What we're looking at is other ways to solve the problem. And what happens is access is not, because it's 2003, it's computers, it does not handle all the information that it's supposed to. That is why we even considered that, or what the IT people considered looking at Gate Century as to solve the problem. The second announcement I have is that the News and Views here, we were getting $1,000 a year off the News and Views by Design Graphics, who was printing this book for us. Instead, we decided to change it to Print Shack, and we're going to get anywhere from $1,000 a month to $3,000 a month. And that is a win-win for us. And I can tell y'all how that's going to work is that each one of the advertisers in this book, they pay a certain dollar amount. They don't care who they pay to get the advertising. They don't care. They want to stay in the book. Well, somebody, and Dave knows about it over there too. He was on the News and Views committee. We're going to revamp this starting September. It's going to have a little different format. It's going to have like a small classified section in it where the people, y'all can advertise, like if you got a car for sale or something like that maybe, and then there'll be a business and services section for the people you like that's in the book, vendor book down there, can advertise in that, and that particular page might be worth $1,000. So that's just one of the things. And this is going to be full color, and it's going to be cut down. This book here is 52 pages. It's going to be cut down to around 40 pages. So y'all know that. That was one way to raise money that was not going to increase assessments. I'm for anything that'll raise money that will keep the assessments down and do not affect the residents. So that's where it comes from. Anybody got any questions on that? I'll be glad to see if I can help. Yes, back there in the back.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, one of my big questions about that, I'm so glad to hear what you're saying about that. And the last year's board was trying to work with that according to so many things that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And my big question is, we used to have to read old news because they would want everything so far in advance before they would put it out. So where does that stand?
Okay, as far as Print Shack goes, the first month, if I'm correct in saying that, and the people on the committee and Vince knows, the first month you have to basically give a month's notice on things, but after that, she's gonna try to work down to about 2 weeks is a goal. It can be even shorter time than that the information will come in. And as far as what we're doing with the, like, maybe Vince can explain it more so, we're trying to get, the main goal was try to get the information out faster. Go ahead, Vince.
In our last meeting with Jen for Print Check, what we are doing is that we took this month's edition that's going to be printed in August from Design Graphics. We sent that to Print Check for them to formulate 2 or 3 renditions of the book for September. What we're trying to hold for is that the committee will decide which book is done the first, second, and third, so we all can have a discussion about the next 2, 3, 4 months about how the news and views is going to look. Okay, it's still going to be broken down from the board is first, okay, the PCPO is first, then the clubs, and then the community. That's how it's broken down. But how those ads are segregated in the book, your board minutes will be there with the board minutes. Your clubs won't be interactive with another ad. So it all, and at each page will be on a glossy page, okay, and all be in color. So if you submit a color ad, it won't be transferred to a black and white. It'll be all color. It makes it a lot easier for printing now. It's just a different way of doing business.
Okay, any other questions out here? Okay, I don't see any other questions, so has anybody got any question about anything else, I'll be glad to see if I can answer that. All right here.
I'd like to know if we're doing anything for the speeders on our subdivision.
Well, that, as far as speeding goes, that's always been a hot topic, and as far as what we're looking at is, and we've not nowhere close to finalizing it yet, but we're trying to find a way to put cameras, and now that's going, I don't know exactly what the cost is gonna be, but cameras that can be moved around and this kind of thing, so we don't have to pay code enforcement to sit out there, because what they've got is they have to shoot that tag from the rear because Florida does not have a front tag. So that's why you see like people speeding, and then you got to catch them from behind or whatever to find out who it is. So that's the problem with that. We want to see if we can get infrared cameras that will read it from at night, because right now that laser cannot be read at night without being recalibrated, and it takes time to set up. And do you want to pay somebody to sit there 2 hours and they don't catch nobody? No, you don't want to do that. You want them doing something else. You'd rather have, keep the labor rate down. Any other questions when it comes to that? Go ahead, Lucy.
I can have another question to that, is I've heard, and you can clarify, that you're working towards getting speeders that are connected to a resident, so you know a way to get to them through the resident. But what about all these vendors that are forever going up and over that speed limit? How are you handling it? Because I had heard through the grapevine, so it's not solid, that, oh, we can't do anything about them. What, if anything, can be concise about what can be done by the vendors who are speeding?
Well, that was one issue, was when we was talking about gate entry per se. The vendors, we tried to get them not to come back in. We can say they can't come back in, but it's like, say, for example, the way it's set up now, we can say, okay, your delivery driver from pizza, say Papa John's Pizza, for example, they can't come in, or that particular driver can't come in, they send another driver. But we're only tracking the car. As you notice, we only track the car that comes in, so we don't track the driver. So it's easy for the guy to drive another car and get here. So that's one of the things. It's real, until we find something way to do the gate a different way, then we have a hard time with that. So The only thing we can do is ban the company or talk to FedEx and say your driver that come in that delivered to my address, he was speeding, would you talk to him or would you tell him he can come in and find another driver? That's about the only way. Is that right, Rich?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't mean to dominate here, but I have questions. Okay, the next question I have is, first of all, do you take pictures of those vendors to also actually show them the speed and the plate connecting them? Or do you let it go and just talk to them?
That's a question you have. I don't know the answer to that because I have to ask Greg, but Rich may know what's going on there.
Okay, make it very simple. United States of America, how many people that I know have license plate covers on their license plate that reflects any radar shoots on their car? You're saying yes?
Yes,
That's all over the United States of America. People have that for one reason. They don't want to get tagged. That's why they have it. So we can't go to the people and say, take it off your car. That's not my business. That's your business.
That wasn't my question.
But I'm just using the example.
Yeah.
Example. You cannot, you can only look at the whole picture. If everybody has that, then not gonna work. Just like if I'm gonna say term, how many people here stop for a stop sign or do a California stop? California stop, you don't do this, right? Glide through. We don't fight by the rules. First of all, against speeding and against stopping for a stop sign. We are not 50, stop for a stop sign. 50, you don't speed. But here they do. That's my case.
Okay, and I just want to add to that, that we're talking about speeders because for stop signs, you almost have to have a video of it. To tag them and say you didn't stop. The other question I have, I'm trying to stay on track here. For the very type of problems we have at the front gate, it's not limited to what you were aiming for or what you're still concerned about. The computers is a big thing, and I'm glad you're working on that issue. But the consistency of the workers, some let people go by, some don't let the gate go up and down. There's no consistency, and it's not each individual that you can point to, because some do it, some don't. Some follow protocols, some don't, and it varies. Who is the supervisor to make sure there's better understanding of how they're going to work the protocols with the workers? Are you able to understand that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, when it comes to that, basically me personally and the board has to come up with, like, say, a set amount of questions that are asked. We have to get with Greg and say, these are the questions we want to ask. Because I realize you're concerned with that because I see it myself, like the times I've been to Garshak at like late at night, I've seen where they just open the gate and let somebody through because they recognize the car or recognize the taxi. They don't, that's all they care about. They're not asking where they're going and things like that. And that's really a training issue that they're not training the guards right, or it's the guards not following what they're supposed to be doing. So that's why we do our best to hold everybody accountable. Like we have a list that we go by and we say, okay, we want this, and this done. And with the complaints and things like that, it's always checking out, like, if there's squatters in a house or somebody's not belong here, there's always something going on with that besides everyday to-day business. So, but speeders and people that run stop signs, if they get caught, they don't get no leeway. I will tell you that right now. If it comes, I don't care if it's 1 mile an hour over. If they get caught speeding here, they're not, and it comes in my desk, that it's gonna be, they pay the fine. It's period, they lose privilege. There ain't no ands or buts about it, because speeding is a priority of the board, of me, and I don't want, if it was my mother or parents were living here and walked in the morning, I'm afraid you're gonna get hit by a car Plus, you gotta figure that some of the streets are narrow, that you go down, it's not like regular city streets or where they're wide, you got a shoulder walking way. So, somebody else have a question? All right, right here.
Is there any reason why we can't get a yellow line down Country Club? Because cars don't seem to know where they should be. They're in the middle of the road, and that road is not very wide.
As far as the yellow line down the center, we can do that, because I think I've talked to Billy already about seeing if we can get one down there. And we gotta remember, we got some paving to do this year on certain streets, and maybe there'll be paint lines and this kind of thing too. All right, back in the back.
I did have a question for you, Jerry. I am a unit rep, and I discussed,
Don't speak up, hold on,
no. No. I'm sorry. I discussed this with the unit reps, and I'm gonna throw it out there to you, and Rich is on the board. I am willing to sit at that guard shack for one day and hand out papers to the residents and people that are visitors. If you speed, there is consequences, because I know we all know this, I know we all should know it, but there's a lot of people in here that do not follow it. So I'm throwing that out to the board. I am willing to stand, I know I can't go in the guard check, I know I can't, but am I allowed to hand out flyers stating, you speeding here, there is consequences, and if you're a vendor, if you're a visitor, if you get caught doing this, you are gonna be asked not to come back in here.
That's soliciting.
That was gonna be one of the things that come up with. It's probably outside the gate, it's probably okay, because it's not Brookridge property
Well,
outside the
if I
gate.
do it outside the gate, I'm not soliciting, I'm telling people something that they should already know. There's no stopping people. I don't know how many times I've been almost rear-ended at that gate because they're trying to get through the gate with me. I almost got in an accident the other day because somebody came flying through here up from houses past the clubhouse. She was going, I don't know how fast. I stopped at the stop sign, which we're all taught you're supposed to stop, not roll by. You're supposed to stop. She could not get me out of her way fast enough to hit 40 going up Country Club the other way. So I know people know they're not supposed to. How are you planning on stopping it, really? There's so many people living here. I mean, how do you stop it? So I'm willing to hand it to them. They've got it in their hand. You've got to stop. People get in an accident. Somebody just got in a bad accident. So.
Well, what only way we can do anything with speeders is basically have to hit them with a pocketbook, because we cannot write tickets, we can do certain things, but from a Brookridge standpoint, is we can't control behavior, so we have to do it through means that affect their pocketbook. So, and I think Rich will agree with that, and so will Vince.
There's a question here, from Jerry Kraft. Why couldn't visitors be required to sign something?
Well, you can have signed something just like, I think I heard one or two in this first row right here, over here to my right, is they said they just chuck it in the trash, because really and truly, we're not law enforcement and anything like that. So the best thing that I think we've been talked about this idea like a bunch, is really the only way is either do some kind of cameras to slow the speeders down, or cut Brookridge Boulevard down to one lane. And I think even Val come up with the idea of maybe putting not speed bumps, but roundabouts was her idea. So, I mean, I'm open for ideas. If anybody's got any idea how you can slow cars down, that's fine. I want to hear it. It's not like I'm not closed-minded to those things. And it's just like, we can say Gates, we can go back to Gate Century. Some people thought we had implemented it already. Well, that's a no, because it's like, I want everybody's feedback. That's why we have these town hall meetings, to like squash any rumor that comes out or whatever, because we want everybody to know they can get the truth and not afraid to question about anything. I mean, I'm all for listening to, I don't know all the answers to anything. It's just I like people's feedback on stuff. I'm sure. Yes, go ahead.
Make Brookridge a one-way each way and make the inside lane for bicycles and golf carts only.
Well, that's what some people have said. Some people have agreed with that idea. I mean, my idea was to expand the left lane on Brookridge Boulevard and make the right lane cars and walkers and that kind of stuff. But you get pushback on that when certain people don't want, because some people do 15 miles an hour up through there. Well, that's slowing down, of course.
Exactly. I set my cruise
So-
control at 27. I stay in the left-hand lane, and I didn't have to slow down.
But then people's gonna complain that Brookridge is one lane and then they can't get around or they're.
They can't on the other streets either.
Yeah. That's something that has to be looked at, and I don't believe in hiring a transportation thing to look at stuff, because I think we as residents are smart enough to make that decision, to figure that out. We don't need somebody coming in and paying them on the leg, tell us that we need this and this and that. All right, go ahead.
Hi, Jerry. My name is Tracy. We had this same conversation I did with the board almost 4 years ago, so obviously this isn't anything new.
Yeah.
And I made some suggestions, and I just wanted them to put it in minutes because I live right at the top of Country Club.
Okay.
Right at the top. And you got people coming up over the top of the hill, and we talked about not speed bumps, but speed humps. You know, they're not the big humps, but doing those in particular places would obviously, there's other communities that have them.
Right.
I don't know how far apart they are, but that would probably help reduce, or even putting slow at the base of the hill or something in big letters, something of that nature. But again, this isn't a new issue, but it obviously needs addressing, and I just was.
Yeah,
hoping-
it seems like speeding has always been an issue in here, regardless of where it's at. It could be Country Club, it could be Brookridge Boulevard, it could be, let's see, where else have I seen that? Those are the two main places I've seen both of them. And somebody's even come up with an idea of like, it was, I don't know if I can't say it was far-fetched, but it reminded me of Myrtle Beach. Was when I lived in Myrtle Beach, what they did was, on a hill like that, they put a gate at the bottom of the hill on both sides, and then they open it for whoever car comes first, and they block off the other lane for coming up the hill. So it's basically one lane of traffic up to Country Club. But anything you do is gonna be expensive, except maybe the cameras, and just like if people don't know where they're at, because you're gonna move them around all the time. Go ahead, Vince.
I'd like to ask a question of the audience. How many people take Country Club every day? Do raise your hands. Now, let me ask you a question. Why do we allow people to park on the road when it's 2 lanes? Trailers, parking, they park on a hill and a blind curve, you're come over the top, and all of a sudden you see a truck there parked. Second thing, on the boulevard, why do we allow people to park on the boulevard? That's a dangerous situation, isn't it? You're coming along, you got someone behind you, and you got a car up front, now you gotta change lanes, go back and forth. Those are all issues for the board to work out with code enforcement and things like that, and change the rules, and to make it better for us, to where it's more safer on the roads. To be honest with you, I've been here since 2012, I'm talking as a resident now, not the clubhouse manager, so, at every meeting, probably, Rich, maybe 35, 40 meetings at the time that we've talked about speeding.
It's anymore.
I don't think it's the vendors, more as, I would, personally, I always think that 95% of the residents speed. That are speeding, 95% of those are residents, not 95% of the residents speed. So the speeding on the boulevard, 95% of them are residents, and say 5, maybe 3, 4, or 5% are vendors. Okay, so when you start attacking the vendors, you won't get no food. Right? Pizza Hut won't deliver in here because, why? Because they got called and they don't want to pay a fine, or they get tired of being called for speeding. So, go ahead, Lucy.
First of all, I'm not trying to penalize vendors, but I'm trying to see which way we can handle the vendors.
And
To have some effect.
I think we need to start, personally, I think we need to start in-house first before we start breaking our glass, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we gotta,
I also think this is a correct statement, that if you have a standing camera, or professional speakers, taking pictures, calibrating, doesn't, if it ever gets moved, doesn't it have to be always recalibrated to make it legal? Or doesn't, is it gonna be a stationary camera? And then when your concern is you can't leave a camera there overnight, people come over today, over the fence, I can disappear.
see, a lot of these issues that we raised today and raised before, how many people you have signed up for the ad hoc committee or the committee for the rules and regulations?
We've had 4 sign up so far.
Okay, so once that committee gets going, we should be able to hear some good responses from that committee to put forward to the board, so we can change some of these rules and regulations or enforce some of them and get rid of others.
And we also have an advisory committee that we remember, I think we, back the first, I'm going to say 1st of April, we put Mike Green on it. They can look at the idea. How the cameras come about was Peter from code enforcement. He was looking at something that they can move the cameras around where they're not stationary, like standing on the side of the road or anything like that. They're actually attached to the light poles, and they have a SIM, kind of like a SIM card. They can pull it out, and they can download all the people on that, is what he was looking at. And he sent it to me probably 2 months ago, and I've called the places, seeing if we can get prices or get somebody to come out here and look, and just take a look at what's available. But those cameras will be moved around, and most likely they'll be where the telephone poles are at, like the light poles. It will not be a standing place, because it's really to deter the speeders. So you don't want to have, like, where somebody knows it's going to be, like, say, at the corner of Brookridge Boulevard in Midmore every time. It'll be like somewhere else, so they won't know where it's at. So constantly, they will have to slow down for that very reason. We've even thought about maybe putting dummy cameras up places and not telling that they're dummy cameras. It'd just be like, you see some places people use like a dummy car, some places sheriffs use that a lot of times. They will stick a car out there and it won't be nobody in. They'll sit there all day long. And when you see it, you naturally slow down because you can't see if there's anybody in it or not. So it's basically a deterrent. It's not supposed to be a money maker or anything like that. It's basically to get them to slow down. I saw where a lot of communities, when they start a program like that, at first they get a lot of tickets, and then they see that the average speed that dropped down about 5 to 6 miles an hour. So we're saying that if we can find something where the cameras can be moved around, it'll be where you never know where they're at. And that's, yes, go ahead.
I did talk to some other companies that have cameras, like cameras that are movable, but they said every time they're moved, they have to be recalibrated, and that can get very expensive.
Okay, we'll see if we can, I mean, it's not set in stone by no means, but that's an idea thrown out there. Anybody else got any question on it? I got one from Ray.
How many speeding violations per month?
Now that I don't know, but because I've not looked at that data, how many's given in here. But anytime somebody's like appealed a speeding violation or anything out and like called me or whatever, I've told them, no, you gotta pay the thing and it's gonna pay whatever the fine is and whether the amount you got it, so you're stuck with it, so.
You get enough violations out, people will slow down.
That's right, so,
We have Pico counters that they've used for years. They know what time of day the speeders go through. Why don't we have someone out there writing them up?
well, some of the times has come across in an email from, I think Harry sent an email to us about that. The problem you got is the radar gun that was bought, the laser gun, has to be not per se recalibrated, but it's gotta be reset up like all the time, and sometimes it gets out of whack, like Rich was talking, it won't read because the license plate thing on it, the light's gotta be just right and everything else. That's why we need to go something different. I think Rich knows about that more so, is why we're trying to do something with, as far as infrared goes, that can maybe avoid that kind of situation, so. But you got anything to say, Rich?
Yeah, I think, real quick, this whole thing he's talking about, and the speeders, the stop signs, about 4 or 5 years ago, some of the people got together, and we're gonna form a committee. And we're gonna go to school, where the speeders could get to be schooled by the sheriff's department, to take pictures of somebody's car or golf cart, and to write it up, the number of it. Well, somebody here said that we were vigilantes. Don't laugh. We were vigilantes because we're gonna go after your neighbor and their friends for speeding. Is that fair? Yeah. You make the call. Whose roads are they? You make the private roads. Thank you. They're private roads. They're not our roads. They're private roads. But I was told I'm a vigilante and I can't do that. Here we go. That's my take on that one.
We're right here.
Going back to the speed humps, we have right here outside the gate going in front of the golf place, there's a speed hump there. Why is there one there? There's
That's
not-
something to ask Rich, know about this, why that's speeding
But that's the
up.
only one in the park,
No,
right?
it's not. There's one right over here by the golf course.
Right, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
if you watch the people there, this is hilarious. I watch them airborne. You laugh, don't, you laugh, they're airborne. They're airborne. Now, a golfer leaves New Year's, goes over it, and she falls out of the cart. Now, is that okay? Not that okay, because they don't abide by the rules.
I just think that
We
would be
don't
more
abide by the
cost
rules.
effective than some, I mean, if you have cameras, which I think that's a great idea, but you have to look long-term, big picture, cost effective. I mean, cameras to run, man, recalibrate. Why not put something in with some, you know, with speed humps? And there's, like I said, there's other communities, and I can't think of it right now. Yeah, and I just think that would be a permanent solution. You might have to paint them once in a while, patch them up, but I think long-term, let's follow now. I just think that's something that maybe we could address in the future. I think cameras is a great idea, but again, there's technology, there's upkeep, there's people. These don't have to be manned, right? You don't have to man a speed hump, except over by Rich's house. So, but, you know,
Yeah, because his house is right there, so we know where that one's at, but anyway, what I can do is, what we can do is make a note of that, and then when next time we talk to, Azarelli paving, we'll see how much it is, put one in there, cause we can see how much it is, and plus we gotta remember, whatever we do has to be approved by the county, because you got, like EMS and all that, fire department and all that's got to approve it, because you want the county to look at it, because they gotta come in here. You don't want to slow them down because every minute that they take to get back to a house on Spectre back there is like, that could be a matter of life or death, so.
True, but there's not, like I said, there's other communities that have them, and they're just, so I'm sure there's some stipulation that there could be some way. I don't think we need one every, you know,
Right.
there's some streets that you can't speed on, there's too many curves, so that would have to be obviously calculated at, you know, what places would be imperative to have them and others not. So-
Well, then you'd have to compare whatever the price it costs to build one of those, and then to maintain it, like you said, repaint it every so often, refix it up. And if that's just one, say it costs $15,000 for one, well, if you're talking like 5 or 6, then you've got up to $100,000
So how much
already.
is the light work?
Well, you gotta figure that, plus you gotta figure how much is a camera worth too, so that's
Just
a,
saying, that's, like I said, Jerry, that's not you, we've had this conversation many
yeah,
times
that's,
before.
this conversation has probably been, it's one of the most hot topics on as far as social media goes, it's one of the hottest topics is speeders in here. And if everybody's been talking about it for years, not come with a solution yet, so it's time we tried something, and I'm all for trying anything that would deter, because as I've learned already in the first few months of this, is you can't change, it's hard to change somebody's behavior. The only thing that'll solve it is hit them in the pocket. It's hit them basically in the pocketbook. That's the only way you can try to change their behavior.
Why don't they stop them at the car check and just keep telling them that the speed limit, they under speed all.
Well, that's where she come up with the idea of back here in the back. She come up with the cinema paper, but,
Well, just
all right.
the people themselves just say something, the people that are letting them in and out. Remind them that
Tell everyone that comes
they
in,
under speed.
as they're checking them in, that we were just here to remind you there's a speed
Okay,
limit.
well, we can do that. I'm sure we can come up with,
But then
like,
just the vendors, like Vince said, 95% of the violators or residents, which is probably true. It's not so much the vendors, which they're part of it, but again, people are actually violating the law.
and the residents go
So they're
through,
just gonna
go
go
through
anyway.
through the right.
Is it gonna be a straight fine, or what we put up with most here?
Well, it's whatever it is now for speeding wise. It's already in the rules and regulations,
Couldn't go
but,
through the resident side, they have to come back over and, enter out, I already have to pay one.
and if anybody's wondering about where the gate got hit, that is being paid by the person that damaged the gate. That is not paid by Brookridge, so I can stomp that out right now, right quick. So, that's where it got hit, I guess yesterday. Yeah, go ahead.
Noon Park, we came from a park, they hired an off-duty police officer that the arrest and the fine would be legitimate. But they would only bring him in on certain hours on a Friday night or from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock or 4, depending on the pattern of the traffic that people would move in and out. They did that, it worked quite well. I don't know what the cost would be, it'd be quite portable, you could be in and out.
That'd be something I'll let Rich answer over here.
You want to answer it?
Years
Run it
ago,
for us, huh?
we did that contract, and it would not be a regular policeman on the service of the hours. It's one of the guys that was off. You pay him $75 an hour, that's what they want. Well, it's a business. $75 an hour, he would drive the police car, not his personal car. It must be a police car. $75 an hour, so say he comes in here and spends 20 hours in here, well, think what's it gonna cost him per week. We're gonna stop how many cars?
Let's stop a lot of them.
We don't,
You
for
put
a
the money
while,
out and get it done.
because we don't know that yet, but this is an obvious thing, he may. So if you stop at one and write one up, you gonna catch the other guy going by? No.
How can a cop use a cop car and not go for a
It's business through the police department, he's off duty, but he's still in uniform.
Yeah, but how can you use the police?
We're paying him.
We're paying him.
But our roads are not
He
certified.
drives in the police car. She's off duty, she drives the police car in here. You know that, right?
Yeah, but he's not policing the road.
He takes an oath is sworn officer for not Brooksville, but for the county. He works for the county. Even though he's off, he's still on. Right. Like a military person, 24/7 you're on. If you're in civilian clothes, you're still on. That's why it was years ago, still is today.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
In the past, we've had this for years and years. And they came in here and they said, if you want us to write tickets, you gotta get your road certified. Number one, all cars come off the boulevard, no parking, period. All the stop signs have to be so high, they have to have stripes, striping down the road. It all has to be certified, and it's not cheap, but we could do it. But it has to be done. Now, what about the interior roads? You're not gonna get them certified, they're too small. They're not wide enough, they weren't put in to be for the police to go on. So the only thing you could police is the boulevard. Yes, you could hire an off-duty cop after you get all the certification done. He comes in prior to that, it won't hold up. So you won't get a sheriff, and we had them pretty reasonable, I thought, less than what Rich was quoting, that we got them, that would come in. But we gotta get all that done first. And so we go out here and start saying you can't park on the boulevard, how many people are gonna get ticked off? Right? It's a good thing, they should be off. At 30 miles an hour, there shouldn't be cars sitting on the boulevard. And even if you did get the residents to agree to it, where are the lawn mowing people gonna do? They got a truck and trailer. We won't let them go on the grass, so where can they go?
They go on the grass anyway.
It's a catch-22, you just can't win on it. But we can win on speeding. We can do more of it. We can get out there at the proper times, start writing citations so that everybody knows, hey, if you speed, you're gonna be paying.
Raise the fine.
They did raise the fine. It used to be 25, they went to 50. What we found was, and other communities agreed with us, is take away your privileges. They hate that more than they do $50. So we've always gone both ways, the $50 fine and the 60-day suspension. We just need to do more of it. Our police know, not police anymore, the security. Our security knows what time people speed, so they could certainly start putting people out there at that time and write it up. I heard Rich mention something about license plates that they can't see. Well, I don't know a lot about that. I don't have one, just a regular old plate like most everybody in here. So I think the majority have got regular plates who could regularly get caught. We just need to get out there at the right time, start doing it, let them know, because after the first one, that $50 fine goes up until it gets to $100 and more time off. So most people don't like that, and we can do it. Well, I got your attention. Some people are not gonna like this. But we talked about the humps before. Put them in. We put one on the boulevard. And all the people in that area said, makes so much noise in these cars going there, that bang, 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 bang with tires. We had to take it back out. So,
I was on Country Club, and they come up that road so fast with those trailers, it's the same thing, it don't matter if there's a bump or not. Same thing, right in front of my house, right at the top there.
yeah.
I know. we can go
Speeding's
on
always
and on,
like
yeah.
this, and again, it's get out there and catch them.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like the biggest thing we're looking at is a deterrent for speed.
Yes, that's turn this thing.
The cheapest thing is just a deterrent. What about looking into buying used equipment from the police department where they have these on trailers, you put them up and it shoots radars and your speed is, the speed is set at 30, if you're going 32 or 33, it flashes. It lets you know you're speeding. It would be a deterrent to that guy driving, I can see, I didn't want to go that fast. If we have stuff like that on the boulevard, you could move that thing anywhere you want, but it still be, not have to be manned, just somebody move it down there, check on the batteries, make sure it's working. But it'd be a deterrent to let you know if you are speeding, to be more aware of it. It's simply a deterrent. What's that?
Where you don't park on the grass, park on the grass.
Well, you can park it on the boulevard.
Put it on the
Is there a boulevard?
There's grass in the middle.
Well.
Put it in a median.
You can't park it. But I
Put it in
mean,
a
for
median.
the purpose of deterrent,
You
we're not
want it
parking
both,
there.
you want it both ways. Don't work out.
But it's the simplest means of deterrent. And it's cheaper than getting a cop car out there and putting speed bumps in.
You can park it in grass anytime.
Yeah, well, that's something we're gonna have to write into the rules.
Yes, it is hot. It is a hot topic. Speeding is definitely a hot topic. Okay, go ahead.
Prior to
I
COVID,
think this lady has the best idea here, with the papers, handing them out. Her and I are gonna sit outside, and we're not soliciting anything.
Betty's holding my hand up, Jerry, I'm not holding.
No, I'm
your
not.
hand. Yes, you are.
prior to COVID, in the news and at the DOT meetings, Greg used to have a list of all the violations, the addresses, no names, what they were for, their violations, and their fines and suspensions. A lot of people got embarrassed because you could look at the address and look and find out who it was. I think that needs to be brought back.
Well, that's a good idea.
And the other thing is since COVID is over with now, why aren't people at the courthouse giving out the passes to the visitors?
Well, as far as I know, Craig has stopped that and has not started back up with that. As far as putting the violations in the e-book, or we can say that, I don't have a problem with that. We can actually do that. I don't care if they get embarrassed or not, because what they're doing is breaking the rules anyway.
In 18, 19, at the news and views, and they were in there every issue.
But we gotta remember that here recently, design graphics is more or less,
They COVID, they stopped.
No, this is eating stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, a lot of this, we lost control over this, some of the stuff, the articles and things like that, because design graphics started putting more and more advertising in here to make as much money as could. So we're taking back control over, that's why we're going with Print Shack on this. And I agree with,
Give us reports now, hand out at the meeting.
well, I agree you can do that. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have anything against that. Anybody got anything else on that topic or any other topic? Because we could have like an all day meeting on speed.
Ready for a new one?
What's the new one?
I'd like to know where the audit's at.
Okay, as far as the audit goes, because he's asked a question about the audit. So far, we know, as I've said before, Masters was one that did the audit before. They had a death in the family and they got extension. We had to get somebody else to do the audit, and they've not got it finished yet with the last year's audit. So that's where we stand as that goes. I mean, you can only do so much. We actually was gonna, file some legal papers against Masters, because it was supposed to have been here earlier, but, the people that's doing the audit, which is, trying to think, I don't know exactly who the name of the people is doing the audit right now, but they're on a timetable, and it's supposed to be, they've already got the stuff, and I don't know exactly when they're supposed to come back with it finished, because I know that's a question, but I will find out for you. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of audit, speaking of finance, at one point, many years ago, the finance committee was, in effect, year-round, to come up with reviews about how money is being spent and where things are at. But then, a few years back, somebody came to the finance committee, just didn't put the budget into this. Now, where does that stand?
Well, as far as committees like that go, what I found since we took it over, it's like down through the years, people have decided when they got elected, that some people have decided they want their friends to do certain things, and, or they try to get revenge on somebody. You can go back, you can read articles where they've done that and they've tried to go that way. I don't know who's on the finance committee. I know that Larry, who's in charge of it, and all I know is people sent resumes in, and Larry put them on there. I did not have anything to do with that, so I don't know who's on that. I guess, Dave, you on it? Are you on it? You on the finance committee?
Yeah, he's on.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I don't know, if Dave is, but I don't know who else is on it. I don't know why.
That doesn't really answer my particular question. I know that it's finance. I was on it once. But when I was on it, it was simply to review the budget before and make recommendations and forward. And at one point, they say, dismiss. That's all we were here.
Okay,
And yet I know that they felt to go back to where it used to be, or someone changed it. And let it be a finance committee, with people that know what they're doing, and hopefully have good insight into where the finances should be going. And reviewing new projects and costs and so forth, and they're all able to come back and kind of put their minds to it and get some ideas to it, and then advise. But right now, even though it was put back where it was, somebody recently changed it back to, they're only there to review the budget, and that's all they do. That's their function.
and that's the function.
And that was brought up by Mary Story, probably a month ago at one of the board meetings. Was where the time was that it got changed, and then when it got changed back, and then recently, I was been put back to where one person, I think it was just one person wanted it, and changed it back to where it was only a temporary committee.
Okay. Well, I don't have an answer to that question, I wish I did, but I can tell you from my standpoint is, when I look at the finances, when I look at the budget they're putting together, and when I look at last year's budget, because people want to know the question where I saw, a great example is somebody wants to know where I saw the 120,000 short, where I was saying that at town hall meetings before the election. Well, that's plain and simple. Simple to me was I saw no bingo, no Friday night bingo. That was, whatever that amount was 20, you say it was $22.50 a month or whatever, say no bingo because of COVID. Then you say you got the miscellaneous line, which I think it was 22,000. Well, where's that money come from? So that made 49,000. Then you gotta figure that when we're looking at the budget right now for next year, the numbers are not there when it comes to like $1, like the raise going up, minimum wage going up in September. It's not there. The money for next year was not figured in there either. It's not figured in there. And so you think about that, that could be anywhere from, I don't know the exact figure, but that's gonna be part of that when I said it looked like they were gonna be short that much, because that was not figured in either, was the wages, because not only are you want to be fair, but to raise everybody up from say $8.65 to $10 or whatever it might be this year, and then next year it goes to 11, next year on and on. To be fair about it, you have to you want to raise each individual up, because you don't want somebody that's been, say, making $11 an hour for the last 4 years, for example, or 3 years. All of a sudden, a person's only been around, say, 6 months or so, or a year or so. All of a sudden, they're making $11 and something an hour. It's not fair to the person that worked hard to get there. So you gotta think about that. Right now, we're looking at the budget, and I can tell you that as far as next year goes, that some of the wages are like, anybody that deals with code enforcement knows that you gotta pay the person if they're off, but you gotta pay somebody. The hourly rate goes up for that month, because you gotta pay somebody to replace it, like a fill-in person. So that's why you'll see, like, say last month, when the figures were raised up, say, $14,000, that's where most of that came from, was because you gotta pay the person to take the time off, vacation or whatever, and you gotta pay the person to fill in, so that just, you gotta pay it double. So that's where that came from. let's see, that's about, roughly about, say, between the wages and the bingo and the miscellaneous income, that's roughly about 100,000. We don't know, we do not know where the rest of the money was coming from, because you gotta think that 220,000 that was on the front of the budget, none of that money had been made yet. Yeah, you can say, okay, I'm gonna do a certain amount of fines or whatever, but it gives people, residents, the impression that you have to find so many people to get that 4,000 a month, 4,000 a week, that comes out 200,000 a year. But even that said, I'll give Mark credit and the previous board credit on where they raised the estoppel fees last year. The estoppel fees, right now, I see that they're ahead of last year right much. The budget was 35,000, and they're already surpassed that, on the estoppel fees. And the background checks were on a line last year that was set in negative, but that was wrong. It was not a negative, because we charge for a background check, people pay it, we pay a company that, my understanding, we pay a company to do the background check, then we net so much for profit wise on our side, which is, right now it stands at, well, the other week when I looked at it, it was $12,000, which was what we cleared net profit. So that figures in there, but the budget shows for that particular line, 0 for last year. So I can explain the finance part. When you look at assessments and you look at additional income, most of the time, when you look at last year's figures they come up with, most of the time, the first 6 months of the year, additional income doubles from the first 6 months to the last 6 months. So you know, it's basically, if it did $100,000 in the first 6 months, that means it's probably gonna do 200,000 for the year. And that's one thing we look at. And as far as anything goes, we gotta remember that Mark didn't, which I'm still giving him credit here, by the way, Mark did not hire somebody to replace Betty. And when he hired people, that you gotta remember, Ray Giroux at that time was making more money than Carol. And you gotta remember, Amy was making more money, so that'll help pay some of the $1 an hour labor that goes up in September. So, as I've talked to Mark 3 times, like I said, 3 times in the last 2 weeks. So he's up to speed on all this, and I gave him props for that stuff, but that's where we stand at. So I think that from my standpoint, I believe that we're probably ahead, but I try my best to think of everything as we're behind, because that makes you more sensitive to things like, I've had Vince I'll take the blame for that if somebody wants to blame me, put the vending machine out there at the pool, because I knew it's not gonna bring much income, but at least we're getting something off of it, commission wise. For the Pepsi machine, we were not getting nothing. And, I told Mark this morning about the news and views, so he knows he's well aware of that. And I told him that we was probably gonna make $2,000 to $3,000 off that a month, and we'll get a check from Print Shack for that. So anything I can do to help y'all, if y'all come up with any ideas on anything, I'll listen to it. I'm not set in my ways when it comes to ideas. I'll listen to idea whether 10 people think it's a far-fetched idea. It's like I'll look at it and say, I'm not set that way. So, does anybody have any more questions about anything? And I will check and see what the speed bumps are.
Okay, I just want to ask what you were talking about. I give you credit from the budget within the limits. So as
Well, I think what we're gonna see is when we get close to the time that the minimum wage goes up, you're gonna see the wage part go up. And you're especially gonna see it in the code enforcement aspect because they've got more people that do not make what the minimum wage is going up. So naturally, there's gonna be raised. So you're gonna see when, I don't know if Rich has seen it yet or not, but what I've seen is like, just for next year on the wages part, to cover the minimum wage going up, I think one department is close to, well, the wages are probably close to, you gotta figure, if it goes up $1, it's gonna go up $1 in September, but you got all next year, if the person works how many hours a week, you gotta do that times 52 weeks, so you're looking at, right much, I think administration goes up about, you'll see probably 50,000 difference in the administrative, and you'll probably see somewhere around 75 in code enforcement, so,
35,000?
yeah.
500, 35,000.
Yeah, I don't know, those figures not exactly written in stone. I know they're still working on, preliminary, and I'd like to see them go down as far as possible. And they have shrunk the additional income, like right now, it's like this year, for example, it was 200,000, right? So that additional income number right now that I seen last week is 160,000. But of course, we still got a ways to go, plus we're looking at other things. And the goal is not to, I'd like to see stuff where we don't have to, like, more. I'm looking at somebody come up with the idea of raising the stop fees again, and like, I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that because we don't want to give people the impression that we're, how do you say, greedy, or they're gonna move in like somebody come up with the idea of like how to get them to sign the new resident package. Well, you take away their codes on the side of the car, and I said, do you really want to go that way? And I said, yeah, that sends a great impression. The person don't sign their new resident package, you're not gonna give them a code till they do. It's like to go through the gate, and I said, that's a great first impression that we have, so I didn't want to do that either. So believe me, when it comes to everything here, it's like, I want to be as resident friendly as possible, so it's not like, I don't get set on one idea and say, that's the way it's gonna be unless it's gonna benefit Brookridge as a whole. That's why I went this way, where it's a great idea, because anything over $100 a month would be more than what we're making now. So that's why I said, let's go with that and see what happens. So, go ahead. Okay.
I think between last year's board and this year's board, hopefully everything stays within reason. Because I know you stop people, I felt during my time of being on the phone, and then stuff going on. So I think it's time to let that happen.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, that's,
But the other question I have is totally different. You spoke in, so you think about the cost of the roof, any definitive decision about when it's all going to be.
well, they haven't got the materials have not came in yet for the roof, so. And Vince has probably the answer to that one.
I talked to them today, in fact. It's not the manufacturer of the product, it's the raw materials coming to the manufacturer to manufacture the product. With COVID going on, with everything going on in the United States and also from different countries, where they get these products from to make the material, that's the problem. And it's happened all over the place. You can see it running down the road on 50, okay? Registered Chevrolet's got 25 cars in their lot. GMC's only got 25 cars in their lot. Before that, last year, a couple years ago, they were full, okay? Everybody's getting hit hard with raw materials. And that's why they're not building cars, because they've got no raw materials. So, whenever, I'm hoping, I'd like to have this done as soon as possible, but can't get the material, can't get the material.
Yes, go ahead.
What about the gate? Marcy and I wanted to hear about what you were gonna do at the gate.
Well, right now, we're gonna fix it as it is up there right now, but right now, we've got people looking at, I'm talking to members of the board, I'm talking to Mark, any idea we can come across that, I don't think anybody could have fixed it. I don't think the previous board could have fixed what's wrong with the problem. And we gotta remember that all the computers here have Windows 7 on them. And most people, like, we can say, worry about whether the permissions are there, whether the licenses are there, because it's so old a system. So I would rather see, and Mark agreed with me this morning, that I would rather see us put brand new computers where they need to be, and then find a program to fit our needs, or have somebody develop one that fits our needs for those computers, instead of trying to do a Band-Aid, which I agree with the feedback is that I'm not sure that the gate entry is the key to solving the problem. And we also have, like I thought, let's see let's get opinions like Mark said, and I agree with him, get guarantees that will this fix the problem. If it don't fix it, then we don't do it. So I'm open to any ideas when it comes to that, because I'm not an IT guy for one thing, and I don't think that from what we've been told is that the people's IT position, they are pushing this gate century thing, and I look at that, like I've told people, you're looking at $800 a month, and you're looking at it not stopping, you're looking at $800 a month forever, and that's for the whole entire place. So the 40 cents I quoted, it's actually closer, you figured 800, and then you divide by a number of lots, so it's really about 26 cents. But I threw out the 40 cent figure, and Mark told me this morning he's gonna get with me about, he knew a place in Tampa that might have something different. And so when I say that I'm getting away from going with Gate Century altogether, and I would rather see brand new computers myself, and then we decide what we're gonna do as far as dealing with the gate, because the gate problem has to do with access. Everything was put on the access program. And Access 2003, which was when Windows 7 came out, I believe, was about that time, that it cannot handle all the data. The only time the computer has worked right, it worked for about 6 weeks total, and that was because we downloaded stuff from the cloud, and that was on a Friday, and it took most of Saturday to do, but every time you do that, the download gets even longer because it does not go back to the starting point. That means, like say if we downloaded it last Friday, say for example, it does not go back to last Friday with new information. It goes all the way back to the beginning. So it re-downloads the whole entire thing again because it has no stopping point. And that's why we got problems with the system is most people want the guard shack off of Access, and it'll free up some data or room for the administrative building. But eventually, it's still all the storage is gonna be taken up, so you're gonna have to deal with this problem, and you can't keep kicking the can down the road, because eventually you're gonna have the same issue. So that's why it's logical just to try to go with new computers and get somebody to develop a program. You got anything, Rich?
Now, just to give you an idea, all this computer stuff we have here, and you look at it last year, the year before, they want this for this much, this company this much, and everything else. Now, we know we have IT people living in here. We know that. Good IT people, 45 years. And their job, one of the guys here, he was to break in to the government, Bill Gates, and Facebook. He was paid every week to do that. Paid to break into their systems, so they can update them. Now, we have the availability of some of the, this is a good mind, the guy that works in the government, breaking in systems, to work in our system, but the problem is, once he does that, he knows all about you. Because you're in the system. And we were told we can't do that. We gotta go to outside company then. So, it costs more money. But we have people that he mentioned me about committees, about lawyers, about accountants and everything else. We all realize that. But some of these jobs that people did, they're great jobs, save a lot of money. But we can't use them, because they're worried about us.
So we need new computers, is what you're saying.
Right.
Well, what are they waiting for?
I have no idea.
I mean, they've had a problem for quite a while, but they just seem to nickel dime it. And why don't you just buy a new one? Mine don't work if I have a new one.
Right. We all do that.
Right,
Windows, I got Windows 10, and I'm no computer guy.
right.
This guy, I play fat fingers.
I don't believe Microsoft is gonna support Windows 7 any longer.
That is correct. It does not support Windows anymore. Huh.
Well, it just,
Windows still works.
it still works, it just won't, they won't update the security in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So my point also is, somebody builds these computers, right? They're not built by a machine. You have somebody up here in, Sugar Mills, his job in New York was to build computers for 40 years. He built computers. The guy is very, very, very good at building computers. You don't buy them, he builds them. Big money savings. Why go on to pay somebody, you do it yourself, hire somebody.
Hey, Jerry, let me get it.
Okay.
I'm just saying that for a picture.
Okay, let me, I'll finish this with this, is what our plan for the computers is like right this second. I have gave Carol the ultimatum to give the IT guys, get exact price on what it'd take to do the computers. Not do all of them because we don't need all of them done, but they gotta have Windows, they gotta have Office 365 on them, and they gotta have access on them because that's what they use. So I would like to see, probably you got 4 computers in the admin office, then you got 3 in code enforcement, then I think 2 outside, Rich, is on the guard shack, 2 computers? Okay, that's gonna leave, I want to get a price of what exactly, that's 9 computers, yeah. Get 9 computers, cause they don't need it up here, they don't need it in the library, and you use wipe clean 2 computers completely, and like, we'll have 1 in the library and 1 down to administrative that people can use to, like, access the vendor book or look for reviews if they don't have the internet and that kind of thing out there. If anybody's been to the administrative office and looked at that lobby, they'll look like it's been like, I call it the copper sitting on what looks like to me a refrigerator, and I don't like that. So to at least let that look presentable. And what I've said, and I told Mark this morning, is that we get Todd and him to say one thing, is it's gonna be a guarantee that they'll fix the system, because I think that company and the company that's been here before has been milking us like a cow, basically what I call it. See us as a cash cow. So whatever Todd says, I want to see get another estimate for somebody else. If they say the same thing that Todd in the IT says, then go with that idea, or still presented at a town hall meeting. I'm not gonna let people know what's going on. I'm still gonna have these things. And see what the best solution is to that. And tell you how much money it is or anything. I don't believe in hiding nothing. So, but if Todd says one thing, IT guy say something, and then another company says something different, and you go get a third opinion to see if it matches those two. And if they tell something different, you go until you get the majority of them agree with one thing, and that's how you present it. But I've got like, people looking at that. We got, as far as what Rich said a while ago about IT people in here, we've actually had Mike Crean that used to work here. We've had him look at it from the email standpoint because to get a second opinion, we did not want him looking at it because information to get out there, and that's what Rich was talking about. We want him just to deal with how to fix the email part. Now, I don't know if it's fixed yet. I've not heard any complaints on that part of it, but yeah, at least we know what, I guess, sometimes people don't know. You can explain something over and over and they don't understand it because they're looking for a certain word or they're trying to understand it, but that's not telling the whole story, like what's the system doing. So most of us can easily understand what the system is doing now that it was explained. That a great example would be, I know it needs fixed because I was out there the other day looking at the floor, by the way, that got put down in there, and that was like just about around $700 was labor plus the flooring that went down to take that stinky carpet up that was wet and moldy and all that. But when I was out there, the tablets froze up. And I told the girl, I said, what do you do when the tablets froze up? Because you can't enter no more cars in it because it's frozen. She said, it can be frozen anywhere from 10 seconds to 30 minutes. And I said, well, you can't have traffic backed up to 50. So what do you do? She says, well, I'll let them in because that reason you can't have backed up on 50. And so she wrote them down, but that's what happens in that case. So we know something's got to be done. I told Mark, I said, there's no way you could have fixed it because if there was a way, I told Mark this morning that from the standpoint is we don't want to pay somebody a service fee that can come in here and like be set up and say work on the computers every so often for a month and they charge a fee. I'd like to see us do something where they only got to come look at the computers or fix them like once every 2 months or 3 months or something like that instead of once a week. Because when you see that number climbs because they're not fixed. So that's where I'm at with it, and I appreciate everybody showing up today. If anybody's got any questions, you're welcome to ask. I'll be glad to see if I can answer or Rich can answer it. And I'll look at this, by the way. So, anybody have anything left? I appreciate everybody coming out for this, and there'll probably be an update on other things next week. Maybe we'll have some plans back or what I can give y'all price on what 9 computers are gonna be to get brand new computers, but you gotta remember they gotta have Office 365 with access is not gonna work right. So you gotta have something that's compatible.
Jerry,
Yes.
one quick thing. All the residents, the kind of COVID-19 locked up, don't forget, starting in October, entertainment coming in on Monday and Thursday. Everybody out again. There'll be social dance every first Saturday of the month. And I booked the bands all through 2023 already. We are already set up for the future. October.
Bingo starts in about October.
And don't forget what's coming up. The men's club is gonna do October 23rd, a Halloween masquerade party, wear your mask. Masquerade party, it's just a party, throw it away, like, well. And then don't forget too, on December 10th, I think we got a guy coming from North Pole coming down again, Brooklyn with Santa. He'll be here again for a nice time on that, Saturday this year, because we have on Sundays, they all gotta go to church, and Santa's gonna be here on Saturday instead of Sunday. So it's just that they're having a good time and, for me, I do it for the people. I don't do it for myself. And when they bring some of the grandkids in, that's the best thing possible. When you bring the grandkids in, we'll replace Santa Claus, he gets a cheat sheet. Their names, mama's names, grandpa's names, and you tell this little girl Jessica, I talked to your mother last week. I called her. Don't you like the Bugs Bunny computer? Well, how did you know? They forget about who Santa Claus is, they don't know how you found out about this. Very smart kids. So watch your news and views, lots going on here coming into the fall. Thank you.
Vince, could you give an update on the floor, please, that back there, so people know?
You know, back here?
Yeah.
All right, back here, we have the acrylic and or urethane is cracked, okay? And it's due to the expansion joint between one building and another. So if you see concrete out there, we have expansion joints. As they get cold and they get hot, they expand and contract. Well, they're coming at the end of the month here, I think the 25th, where they're scheduled. It'll take them about 4 days, and they're gonna cut both sides and repin the two concrete slabs together and fill it back up with concrete and refinish it.
Vince, you want to tell them why, the old building and the new building?
That, beyond those doors used to be the old building. That's the old floor that was done in 1972, and this floor was done in 1992. Last I heard that, Lucille, you're forking the bill for that. No, it's completely warranted. There's no cost to Brookridge at all. Nothing, it's free. So.
Okay, thanks everybody for coming today. I appreciate it.
Jerry, question?